Hi guys, it's me Faye here at Faye Dusk, and I am doing the first video in my new series that's called Away with the Fairies. And if you see me looking down, it's because I've got this rather snazzy notepad with butterflies on that I've been writing notes in for this video so I don't forget to say anything. And basically I was going to originally start this series with doing a Q&A style question and answer, because I assume everyone knows what that means, but just in case someone doesn't, of what fairy wicker is. But I started to write out what I wanted to write, and I actually realised that I wanted to start with what are fairies. I mean, that might sound silly when I'm saying to you what are fairies. You might be like, oh my god, Faye, you've lost your mind, everyone knows what fairies are. But I wanted to actually delve into what they are, as opposed to what you see in popular culture and the media and movies, and actually briefly talk about what they are, as opposed to just a sort of Disney Tinkerbell version, if that makes sense. So I'm doing this in a Q&A style, so I will get started. So the first question is, what are fairies? And fairies, they're guardians of nature, and they are also referred to as nature spirits or elementals, and they inhabit all areas of the natural world. So that could be oceans, trees, even the very atmosphere. And their job is to maintain harmony and balance in the world. And they also go by different names. So what are these different names? You've got fairy, obviously. There's a few different spellings of fairy. Sprite, which they are believed to be very energetic and playful, and they live in the forests and woods. Some live up in the trees and the branches, and others live on the ground by streams and ponds. And in winter, tree sprites, according to legend, help to shake snow off branches, and they keep the trees company through the long and dark cold nights. And in the fall time, again according to legend, they are supposed to pluck dead leaves from the branches to the ground for the kids to play in, and for them to be raked up and swept up. And sylphs, which are spirits of the air, and they are carried on the breeze, and they have very swift, quick, fluid movements, and they are the living manifestation of their element air. Sorry, I was just flipping the page here. So each element, it has its own type of fairy or nature spirit then. Yeah, some elements have more than one. So nymphs are connected to water as well as to mountains and forests, and their presence can be felt very strongly by flowing water, so waterfalls and things like that. And they lend their own sort of character or qualities to water. So an example would be a nymph of a well, or a well nymph can turn a spring into a healing place. You know, sort of all over the world there's stories of certain places, certain properties of places of water having sort of healing quantities and stuff, and you hear stories of people making a pilgrimage from the other side of the world to go there because it helps to heal and energize and all that sort of stuff. And water nymphs are also called naiads. I hope I said that right, that's how I say it, naiads. And naiads are companions of different amphibians and fish, and they are also said to be able to have the ability to temporarily turn into a fish. And so the next one is earth spirits, and obviously they're connected to stones, rocks, mountains, and they're called gnomes. And they're able to move around, but they tend to stay close to the ground, where they where they guard the earth's precious treasures, so minerals and precious stones and metals and things like that. And the fire spirits obviously can be found in volcanoes, and also any type of fire, even including a candle flame. And so how do you communicate with these different types of fae? Ritual and meditation, a lot of things, is a very good way to communicate with them. And You go on the internet or books and things like that, and there are various, like, hundreds of different types of rituals and meditations and spells and all that sort of stuff that you could try if you're interested in communicating with them. So for a couple of ideas to contact the spirits of the air, like on like a nice clear day, if you live near a hill or you're on a holiday, whatever, you could climb to the top of a hill. And when you feel like the air goes still, but then you feel sort of like a rustling of a breeze flowing through your hair, that's like the sylphs. I said sylphs then, I don't know why. Telling you that they are nearby. And I hate it. I keep looking down at rustling paper, but it's just because I'm trying to read. Because I wrote loads of notes and I didn't want to. Also, if you want to feel close to air spirits in your home, like your altar, you could cover with a white or pale blue cloth to obviously represent like the sky and the clouds. Or again, you could use blue or white candles for the same thing. You could also burn a really nice incense, something to you that signifies like the air and things like that, to sort of bring a nice like aroma. And also you could put anything on your altar that reminds you of the air element, and that could be anything, dandelion, anything that basically reminds you of air. Feathers is another one. So, next question, does each element represent different qualities? Yes, the air relates to freedom, thought and understanding. Fire spirits represent change, dynamic and passion. Water obviously is associated with emotions, like your sort of like unconscious longings and repressed fears. While the earth symbolises stability. And the characteristics are enhanced in people, like when they're attuned to their respective element. So, for example, someone that, like an empath, for example, would be what you would think would be highly attuned to the water element, as obviously that is associated with emotions and feelings and things like that. And so you're probably gonna ask, where do nature spirits come from? And the truth is, they come from all over. They've played roles in cultures across the planet since like the beginning of time. And the word sprite comes from the Latin spiritus, which, unsurprisingly, it means spirit. But like the belief in nature spirits is embraced worldwide. And like in the Celtic tradition, they're called Spriggans. I apologise, I can't say it. It's Spriggans. So say it how you will, because I can't pronounce it properly. And they were worshipped in the belief that they created harmony between people and nature. And then in the ancient Greeks, they practiced a form of nature worship called animism. I can't even say it. I'm so rubbish at pronouncing things, but this is Animism, and I'm sorry I can't pronounce it properly, but basically it's a belief that all things have a soul or a spirit, and called their tree spirits dryads. These had to be revered, or they'd vent their fury on mortals in the form of natural calamities, so that would be like earthquakes and volcano eruptions and hurricanes and floods and all that sort of stuff. And then the Greek goat-footed god Pan was considered the king of nature spirits. Ancient Egyptians, they also revered nature spirits too, and they called them air fries. While in Germany, the Undine is a water nymph who will become immortal if she marries a human being. So how did all these nature spirits come into being? Theorists who have studied like the relationship between like the universe and humanity and the divine, they believe that when the earth and physical beings were created, that nature spirits were unable to move from physical bodies, so instead they lived like in the trees and the rivers and the rocks and possessed supernatural powers, and they exist in the astral realm rather than the physical plane that you and I exist on, and they're usually invisible to like our like ordinary sight. So a lot of people are largely oblivious to them, although there are some people that are psychically attuned that are lucky enough to actually be able to see a nature spirit. And so the next question is, devas, are they the same as sprites? And devas, which means beings of brilliant light in the ancient Indian language of Sanskrit, are nature spirits, but not of the common garden variety. These are top dogs, so at the top of the food chain, who influence smaller nature spirits and are defenders of nature, and that includes like the forests, the rivers, the mountains, clouds, everything to do with nature. And to those who are able to see devas, they do look like angels. And so, is it just a case of whether you believe in spirits inhabiting the natural world or not? I mean, that's something to ponder. I mean, nature worship in itself can be a religion as well. I mean, the Japanese Shinto faith, which has been around a hell of a long time, is based on animism, and like they worship sprites, and its gods are called kami, and include sprites like the moon, the ocean, and mountain. And the kami are seen as spirits that animate nature. So nature spirits are also embellished in the belief system of Kabbalah, which holds each element, earth, wind, air, and fire. It has apparently to them has their own kingdom, presided over by elemental king who serves as an archangel, and together they control like the world's weather patterns. So the last question you might be asking yourself is how you will know if like you're in the presence of a nature spirit. So it would be things like a sudden breeze on a clear still day, or tiny like whirlwind could be the symbolism of an air element nearby, and then a fire elemental could show itself like a sudden warm spot on what like looks like a face in a candle flame, or ripples in the water can be caused by water fairies, like in a sort of like clear still like patch of water. And the lapping of water could be the sound of them communicating in their voices. And earth spirits often show themselves in the face of the green man, in the leaves or trunk of a tree, and scuttling sounds in the undergrowth might just be, making themselves scarce. I mean, you never know. But so I really enjoyed researching this and reading articles and stuff, and I found it really interesting. And I really hope you enjoyed it as well. And I will be putting what I've this video into a blog post as well, and the blog post will probably be pretty much the same as the video, just all written down, as I know I can ramble sometimes, so you might find it a bit more clearer. So when this video is released, the blog post will be there as well, so make sure you click on the link in the description bar. And if you have any comments or suggestions for my series or anything like that, then as well, leave them in the comments section. And I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you very soon. Bless you.